Have you ever sat down at the end of a long day, staring at your bank account, wondering why no matter how hard you work, it feels like the world's getting richer while you're just treading water? Maybe you're scrolling through news about billionaires launching rockets or buying islands, and you think, how is this fair? It's that quiet frustration, right? The one that creeps in when you pay your bills, or when you hear about another factory closing in your town because jobs went overseas. Well, today, I want to talk about something that's been hiding in plain sight: global trade's dirty secret. This invisible wealth theft that's happening every single day, siphoning money from ordinary people like you and me without us even noticing. It's not some conspiracy theory. It's built into the system. And once you see it, it changes how you look at everything from your grocery bill to the global economy. Stick with me here, because understanding this isn't about getting angry. It's about feeling a little less alone in the struggle. Let me back up a bit. Most of us think of global trade as this big positive force. Countries swapping goods, creating jobs, lifting people out of poverty. You know, the story we hear all the time. Cheap clothes from overseas mean more money in your pocket, right? And yeah, there's truth to that on the surface. But here's where we reframe things. What if I told you that a huge chunk of global trade isn't about fair exchange? It's a cleverly disguised way for wealth to flow uphill from the many to the few. We misunderstand this because it's designed to be invisible. Governments and companies talk about free trade agreements like they're win-win, but they rarely mention the loopholes that let trillions slip away untaxed, unaccounted for. It's not your fault if you've never heard of trade misinvoicing. That's the point. It's this quiet mechanism where companies tweak invoice prices on imports and exports to shift profits to low tax places. And it's not just shady operators. Big multinationals do it, legally, or at least in the gray areas. We normalize this as just business, but it leaves entire countries and the people in them poorer. Think about it. If you're in a developing nation exporting raw materials and the real value gets hidden through underpricing, who's really benefiting? Not the workers mining the stuff, that's for sure. We've all felt that sense of the game being rigged, haven't we? That nagging doubt when you see inequality spiking, but no one explains why. Okay, let's dive deeper into how this actually works, because once you peel back the layers, it's fascinating and a little heartbreaking. Picture this. A company in a rich country buys coffee beans from a farmer in, say, Ethiopia. On paper, the invoice says the beans are worth way less than they actually are. Why? So the profits get booked in a tax haven like the Cayman Islands, where taxes are basically zero. Meanwhile, the Ethiopian government gets cheated out of taxes that could fund schools or roads. This is trade misinvoicing, and it's massive. Experts estimate it accounts for 60 to 65% of all illicit money flows across borders. We're talking $500 to $800 billion vanishing from developing countries every year. That's more than all the foreign aid they receive combined. And it's not just Africa or Asia, it ripples back to us. When companies dodge taxes like this, governments everywhere have less money for public services. Your local hospital waits longer for funding, or your kid's school cuts programs. Psychologically, it's exhausting. Behavioral economists talk about learned helplessness, where you start believing you can't change the system because it's too big, too hidden. Remember that time you felt overwhelmed by rising costs like rent or food prices? Part of that's tied to this. Global supply chains inflate prices while hiding profits. Take a real-life example. A friend of mine works in manufacturing. His company sources parts from overseas, but through all these shell companies, the true costs get obscured. He sees jobs lost because profits aren't reinvested locally, they're stashed away. It's not greed in a vacuum, it's a system that rewards short-term tricks over long-term fairness. And simple math shows the scale. If 8% of the world's financial wealth, about $7.6 trillion, is hidden offshore, that's revenue governments could use to ease your tax burden or build infrastructure. But instead, it widens the gap, making you feel like you're running on a treadmill that's speeding up. Now, here's the turning point, the realization that flips the script. What if we stopped seeing this as inevitable and started viewing it as a psychological trap? We've been conditioned to think money is just about individual choices, save more, work harder. But this invisible theft shows it's systemic. The mindset shift is recognizing that your financial stress isn't all on you. It's partly engineered by these global mechanics. Once you get that, decisions change. You start questioning why we accept a world where multinationals pay less tax proportionally than you do on your paycheck. It connects money to deeper things like peace of mind. Imagine feeling freer because you know the anxiety isn't personal failure. It's a shared human experience shaped by unequal rules. Behavioral psychology backs this.
Studies show that when people understand systemic inequalities, they're less likely to blame themselves, more likely to advocate for change. It's like lifting a weight off your chest. For me, it meant rethinking my own spending, not out of guilt, but with awareness that every dollar in the global economy carries a story of where wealth really flows. So, how do we apply this in real life? I'm not here to tell you to boycott everything or become an activist overnight. That's not realistic for most of us juggling work, family, and bills. Start small, grounded. First, educate yourself a bit more. Read up on where your everyday buys come from, like checking labels on clothes or food. It builds awareness without overwhelm. Then think about your own finances through this lens. Build that emergency fund, not just for security, but as a buffer against these hidden shifts in the economy. Maybe diversify a little. Invest in local businesses if you can, or support fair trade options when they're affordable. It's about small habits that reclaim some control. For instance, if you're dealing with work stress from unstable jobs, talk to others about it. Sharing normalizes the pressure from global trade imbalances. And on a bigger scale, vote for policies that push for transparency in trade, things like closing tax loopholes. It's not extreme, it's practical. One guy I know started a community group discussing local impacts of global trade. It helped him feel less isolated, and they even lobbied for better worker protections. The key is realism. Progress comes from steady steps, not perfection. As we wrap this up, I want you to take a breath and reflect. We've uncovered this hidden side of global trade, the way it quietly steals wealth, fueling inequality and that inner unease so many of us carry. But knowing it exists, that's empowering. You're not alone in feeling the squeeze. It's part of a bigger picture where psychology and money intertwine. And while the system won't change overnight, you can carry this awareness lightly. It makes you smarter, calmer about your own path. Remember, it's okay to stumble. What matters is moving forward with a clearer view. Progress beats perfection every time. Thanks for spending this time with me. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. What surprised you most about this?